It's bright and early on the morning of Tuesday, April 30th for day 2 of evidence in the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. The Commonwealth has accused her of killing her boyfriend, Officer O'Keefe, by hitting him with her car, causing him to fall. And they talked about injuries yesterday in opening and letting him die in the snow. The defense started their opening yesterday with Karen Reed is being framed, and then gets into a very long opening statement about how they believe she has been framed in this and the cover up that ensued. With all of that, today on day 2, we are resuming with the cross examination of the first officer on scene, Stephen Seraph. So this morning, now that we're up to the court break, we had the feisty and fiery cross-examination of the officer that finished testifying yesterday, Officer Scariff. And then we had the second officer on scene start to testify to the few things he remembered and most of the things that he didn't. From the cross-examination of Officer Scariff, the defense pointed out that even the MDT log or the dispatch log shows officers arriving at different times than they actually arrived. And again, the defense is leaning into things in this investigation didn't make sense. No one that arrived on scene initially tried to go into the house. No one that arrived on scene went and door knocked to the house where the victim was located. They talked about Karen Reed and the fact that the Officer Scariff yesterday testified that he heard Karen Reed say, "This is all my fault, I did this." And the defense methodically pointed out that he didn't say that in his initial report, in his second report to the investigating officer, Trooper Proctor, that he didn't say it in the grand jury testimony, and then asked a very snarky and argumentative question that, of course, was objected to and sustained. So if you testified 5 weeks from now, would this continue to change? He clarified that in his report, he only put the fact that Karen Reed was saying, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" over and over, consistent with the second officer that testified. The second officer that testified had only been a full-time officer for about 6 months when he arrived on scene. That officer, Mallory, showed up on scene second. The only thing he's testified to of much substance was that he was the officer that called Roberts, who was with the defendant, Karen Reed, and called them to come back, and then Reed was put on a hold. That officer said that she had been making self-harm statements and thoughts, and so they had left the scene. Roberts, I think McCabe and Reed, it's not super clear at this point, they had left the scene, came back to the scene, and then defendant Karen Reed was transported by ambulance to Good Samaritan Hospital. So she had gone by ambulance to Good Samaritan, or shortly after the victim left the scene by ambulance to go to Good Samaritan, before he was pronounced at the hospital. Again, no one came out of the McCabe house where the victim was found. No one on the street came out. And at this point, law enforcement has not door knocked any of the doors. At some point, other officers that arrived on scene were using a leaf blower in the area where the victim was found. And the officer was very clear that he didn't see any red pieces of taillight or any plastic pieces of taillight near where the victim's body was, but he didn't see anything. Others say that the victim's phone was under him. This officer was like, I didn't see anything, and I don't remember the other stuff. But apparently at some point, a leaf blower came out and was blowing snow out of the way. No crime scene tape was put up. It seems that the initial responding officers who got a dispatch call to unconscious person were not immediately treating this as a crime scene. I don't know who made that determination, and maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. Court is only a half day today on day 2, and when I say the court ended at 1 p.m. local time on the dot, the witness was barely finished his question before the judge was out of her chair saying, "And that's enough for today. There's no court tomorrow. See you back on Thursday." It's a half day. And then no court Friday. So we're only really getting 2 court days this week. We are on witness number 6 We have had two fire paramedics testifying today. The first fire paramedic witness that testified, Mr. Nuttall, is the one who testified to hearing Karen Read say, I hit him, I hit him. The defense on cross-examination brought up inconsistencies between his statement and trial, where he said he asked what happened, and then I hit him was the response, to his statement to the investigating officer, Trooper Proctor, where he said, I asked, do you know him or who is this? And the response was, I hit him, I hit him. And there was another third part of that statement where he had said previously, I overheard her say, I hit him to another woman that was on scene, and heard that other woman say, be quiet. I'm not clear that those are inconsistent versus there being a statement here and a statement there, but the prosecution didn't clear it up. So I think the impression that many are left with is, did this testimony change in the response? Was the I hit him a response to EMS asking what happened? Was it not a response to EMS? Was she talking to someone else? It left it very unclear, which is a win for the defense, which is so confusing to me, because the prosecution leaned into that statement to this witness. This is the witness who says Karen Read said, I hit him in response to him. And the defense muddied the water on how that was elicited, how that came in, and the circumstances surrounding that statement. So if that is one of the key elements for the prosecution, I would have expected them to tie that together more tightly. It was not tied together more tightly. And I think they left some question about exactly how that all went down, that the prosecution didn't tie in well. We are in the middle of direct examination of the supervising firefighter paramedic, who is the one who wrote the report. I imagine we'll get into the report more. We'll get into what clothing the victim was wearing or not wearing and had removed from him. The first paramedic said that he was dressed appropriately for the weather, so had a heavy jacket on and like a sweater on, but he remembered he was dressed appropriately for the weather, but was not the one cutting off clothing. The defense showed him a picture of like a hoodie, and didn't make much more comment to that, because he said, I don't really remember, but yes, that looks like a picture of a hoodie, but I don't remember. We will have the paramedic that cut the clothes off of the victim testify. We will see if there was a coat or no coat. It leaves the question of if there are scratches or furrows on the victim's arm. How did they get there? And was the clothing damaged? Or were there injuries under the clothes and the clothes were not damaged, which will raise a lot of questions. So it will be interesting to see the condition of the clothing when paramedics cut them off. And then there was a moment with witness Nuttall where he was talking about furrows on the skin with his Massachusetts accent. The defense attorney, Alan Jackson, who's from Los Angeles, was like, I'm sorry, I don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. And he said it again, and he's like, oh, furrows, not furrows. And he's like, the witness said, sorry, it's my accent. And Alan Jackson said, I'm on your turf. Sorry for me. And then the witness was like, my cousin Vinny. And it was, I didn't think we would see my cousin Vinny coming into the chat, but whoop, there it was.
Abrasions, in my point of view, seem to go hand in hand.
But the word that you used was scratches.
Yes, they were like furrows. Down.
Say that again?
Furrows, if you will, for lack of a better term. Just.
I don't understand that word.
So if you remove something,
yes.
like you create a furrow in the skin, is that?
Furrows.
Yes, there you go. Sorry, excuse my accent.
Oh, no. I'm on your turf.
Fair enough.
It's my accent. I'm so sorry. Oh, boy, that one. It's going to be a meme somewhere.
Hey, my cousin Vinny.
Yeah, got it.
That was really a funny exchange. The court needed a light moment today. I think it'll make the jury like the defense attorneys, which they need, because the defense attorneys are going to have to do some pointed questioning of a lot of these witnesses, and to have light moments with the witnesses while saying, look, you've got good credentials, but your focus, and the defense did a great job of this, your focus was on patient care. Your focus wasn't really on who was saying what. Your focus wasn't really on what anybody was wearing. Your focus was on establishing an airway and figuring out what you needed to do to treat this patient, right? So it establishes that maybe what EMS thought they heard, they didn't hear all the way. And they're leaving that possibility open. But the best part of the day was definitely the My Cousin Vinny entering the chat. If you've not seen that movie, 1010, can't recommend it enough. I'll see you soon. Bye. For deep dives into the stories that I covered here, you can find them on my YouTube channel at The Emily D. Baker and The Emily Show podcast. I stream every Tuesday and Thursday. The podcast goes live on Wednesdays. And if you want to stay in the loop with everything I'm doing, receive the fastest notifications out there, and get more Law Nerd community, join me at lawnerdapp.com, our free app for iOS and Android.